Hi everyone. So I'm here this morning with Chris May from FXL. Good morning, Chris.
Morning, Andrew. Morning, everybody.
Chris, your specialism is developing the capabilities of professional salespeople in the FMCG sector internationally. My question this morning is, how do you see the current situation changing the way we sell, and what do you think good will look like in the future?
Okay, so the first question is about how does it change the way we sell, and I'm really curious to understand more about what life is going to be like on the other side, having got through this lockdown situation. But I think if I look back to see what's driven where we are today, is if you go back a long time with car manufacturers. So literally they would be selling what they had. So any car you want, as long as the colour's black. That was the old model of selling. So I say that's so much about let's sell what we've got, let's sell what we've actually made. Then I think the journey became much more about what I call persuasive selling. So we would teach people in our industry how to sell ideas to retailers in FMCG. The third stage of this sort of evolution, I think, was then much more about what I call consultative selling. So understanding what your customers' needs were, really getting to understand the requirements, receiving a brief, developing a product or promotion or activity to drive consumer and shopper sales, particularly within the supermarket channel. I think, I'm curious to see what happens the other side. I'm thinking now those styles of selling have now gone. I see it being much more, I call it a disruptive selling. So to really agitate people, to get people to really think what's beneath the surface. So rather than being this superficial, everything's gloss and polish, because of where we are now, I think it's going to change the way we sell to become much more perhaps disruptive, challenging, and eventually when we get to the stage of becoming more co-creative and start developing things together. That's where I'm quite curious to see how that starts to evolve. So a fundamental shift, Andrew, in the way we sell to our customers.
But just in the area of consultancy face to face, I mean, I'm imagining a lot of the selling that has gone on in traditional FMCG channels has been about people making personal connections with other people, offering them products to try or experiences to kind of get a taste of, if you like. And some of those physical interactions are already changed and might possibly be changed forever. Do you think?
I think so, because currently today, if you look at a key account team, they might be interacting with the buyers to make sure the continuity of stock is there. But if you take the sales reps, the guys and the girls are actually out on the road selling, they're not actually being allowed into outlets, particularly in the hotel, pubs, restaurants and bars. So I think what's happening there is the customers in that channel will be coming back to work. Those that do come back will be stronger, they'll become fitter, they'll be much more demanding, which puts even more pressure back in terms of the way that we sell with these people. I also think that these customers would have got used to thinking and working on themselves, becoming less reliant on the time with their suppliers. So less time, and therefore putting more pressure to learn how to sell in a much more agile and more succinct way, more listening and less talking, which is quite hard for sales guys to do.
And I'm guessing that starts to tell us or show us or indicate what good will look like in the future. Agile salespeople with clear, concise stories, evidence of experience, which might not be down to the old-fashioned try this and see technique, but might require a broader toolkit to communicate experience. I'm wondering, in other words, new resources for salespeople.
I think you mentioned the word broad. I think generically speaking, salespeople can be quite narrow in their thinking, literally chasing to get across the line. And I think breadth is going to be really important, not only in terms of sales, but also other functions. So forecasting, logistics, understanding shoppers and consumers. We always talk about it, but in a much more in-depth way. And also being able to project into the future and anticipate with foresight what's going to be required and what's happening, and assisting customers to be able to manage their business in a similar sort of way. So much more of a font of information with much more breadth and a broader skill set as well, Andrew. Yeah,
and that's very interesting, isn't it? Because it goes back to the consultancy piece. It's so much selling is basically transactions, actually the consultancy dimension to that requires the salesperson to think a lot more and to come with more than simply a few boxes to tick to sign off a deal, but actually to create a relationship, to establish value in that relationship, and to presumably demonstrate more than simply the ability to rock up with a lorry load of stuff, but actually
I think so.
Build a broader relationship with the customer.
I think if you wind the clock further forward, I think the consultancy selling style that you mentioned earlier, I think has had its day as well. Because we don't have time to sit with customers. What do you think? How do you feel? What are the options? Let me go away and create something. It's very much more about here and now, instantaneous, and it's almost as if you're sitting down with your customers now as a startup. And that for some salespeople is really difficult because they've got the big decks, the stuff to sell. This literally it's so new. The channel is going to be brand new to working. No longer is it fixed. It could be omni-channel.
As a new channel, I think that really does reveal a lot about your thinking for what good will look like. And I suppose the final question in our little chat is: do you think this sort of new normal was actually coming anyway? Do you think the current situation has merely accelerated something that was inevitable?
If we start with consumers and shoppers in consumer goods, I think fundamentally that's been happening a long time, with a move from, I go shopping once a week with a huge basket and trolley. It's much more regular, frequent. We're also using e-commerce as a channel to shop in. Our habits have all changed, but I think what has happened has predominantly accelerated where we've got to. But I think the severity of it, we never would have imagined that. And the implications and the outcome is so unsure at this stage. I think it's more than accelerated. I think it's really shocked it. So not a surprise, but the severity and the speed and the pace, I think, has been very dramatic. Yeah.
Thank you. I love our little chats. Thank you very much for taking a few minutes this morning to join us for Just Curious. This will be broadcast in the next week or so, and we'll look forward to getting your reactions if you're looking at it in the comments box, because it's really great to get a conversation going. This is an important time for all of us. Once again, thank you very much, Chris May from FXL.
Pleasure. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you. Bye-bye.